when you're actually out on country and start to look, the country will speak to you and tell you about itself.
Kunni ba yaram Ngeering jidon mosh. Musborum warami bandin Ngeering. Bok. Kembali waram to play. Beneduk, Meduk. Ngeering. Kelkabil yana to play. Then Kulik, Karantaba, longer to play. Then Kulik, more jarring to play Miriu. Mawanda Miriu by Yaram. Kelkabil, get him on Mama Michi. Kichijari, Kelkabil, combine get a well now. Kopo Wararang. What I've just said in the traditional language of the Wararang people is today, hello, how are you? My name is Judy Walsh. I'm a proud Wararang Bunjamara woman. Here is Wararang country. My grandfathers, grandmothers and families walked this land and their creators made the land that it is and all that it is today. Their spirits wander the land today. Long ago and now in the future, speaking to families and other knobs quietly, let's talk family and come together and speak. Welcome to our own land. And pay respect to all Aboriginal people in the room and their ancestors as well, and to everybody else in the room. I pay respect to your ancestors and please respect your own. We know the journey we went on and we know our fight is a journey and your ancestors would have had a fight in their own countries for you to be here. And our ancestors are what made us strong today and without their fight we wouldn't be here today.
Here, just welcome language with, to country here, Wallarong country. You want to bring greeting from our place, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nakanay ko. Nakanamagana po man para. Intolik na di country Victor Walpuru Kaba. Purupur para. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you, Roman.
Not me, thanks.
I am so delighted to be in this meeting because we had so many conversations with Mark in relation to this very creative but very important work because it deals with a very, the realities of the colonial history of this country. And I think that stories like this, they are part of the true telling of this country.
The beauty of what we hear and the traditional owners of the country as well, and particularly I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, and the elders past that I'm thinking of is Uncle Dave Tournier, and his particular gift to what we're doing here today is very moving to me. And the elders present, like Auntie Judy, who has been so extraordinary, visionary in what she's doing with language and everything, and the future, which is young Dave. You know, it's that's I just like to make that acknowledgement.
You now just press mute on your phone. Mute. I don't think he knows that one.
It's okay.
Mute. Oh.
Yeah.
That.
Good day, back day. Tell him that.
Go next.
Yeah, the back day, you're there.
It's okay.
You know the microphone there on your phone? Microphone.
Yeah.
You can press that one? Can you press press your microphone there? Just press it.
Yeah.
And then when you wanna talk, you press the microphone again. So can you press him once?
Yeah, press it once, yeah.
Yeah. That dog shut up too.
The dog's got mute on.
All right then, Bob.
You muted the dog.
I think the spirit man was just mucking about with us there one time. So, one of the things for our mob and for particularly we don't understand our place or our connection to country without understanding our story. And part of our story, if you have a look at this one here, this is the Ngeering, and this is the Manaray dreaming, and of which our ranges have been named after. But that dreaming story covers the islands of Palm Island and the Palm group of isles. It extends all over that island group and goes out to the continental shelf, and the tail of the Manaray is the Palm Channel. And our senior lawman was Palm Island is the holder of that story, and his Barnum, his brother, is the painter of that story, and he's our two senior lawmen and he translates that story in paint form so that we can understand and make it more accessible. But this old man, he tells that story while we're on country so that it embeds in our hearts for younger men like me so that we can try and hold that story. I remember saying to Pop about the tail of that Manaray, and I said, "Oh man, we're standing on Mount Bentley, right up 1,000, I think it's 1,000 meters or wherever how tall that mountain is, and looking out to the channel." And I said, "Oh man," I said, how did them old people know that deep channel was there?" And that was where the tail of the Manaray was. And he looked at me like I was silly and young, and he said, "Boy, we used to walk that country." And so that's how old that story is. And so when we know how old that story is, then we then think about, well, all of those other things that these old elderly gentlemen, all the stories that my uncles told me about, the Manaray and Yamagan. All of those things, our old people come and talk and yarn and say, "Oh, we come together." So we hold that story. And in that sense, we run into this man here. He comes to our country, and he's wrestling with his spirit and his story. And he says, "Oh, I've got a story." And we go, "Okay, tell me your story." And his story is one that has a connection with our old people in Old Fella Townbar, and some of our ancestors who were taken away. But it's a bizarre story.
It's a bizarre story.
It's a bizarre
but it's a true story.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but it's true.
But it's a story connection nonetheless. And it's a story connection of that he has a family that has been part of that story that we're trying to reconcile also. And it was, so I want, Pop, you want to talk about Rosalind Pointer and that, and not only the story of our mob, but the story of that removal and that story connection with this family here.
Dad shared that story with you for a purpose, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
I believe paying the deepest respect to that knowledge is actually sort of getting it out there and sort of sharing that story, sharing that knowledge, sharing that pathway, sharing that connection.
I can see Kandok all through the book, and then, the stories they dumped one of our mob down a hole, one of the main characters, and left him there and going, "Yeah, that'd be right." They're all true stories, and how they raped and bashed an older Wurrung woman to death, and how they just left her and they thought that was okay. And I'm thinking, yeah, the whole time, because Mark said to me, "What about can you look at the language in it?" And I'm going, oh, it's tanned up all through this. So I could see your father's lens across the whole lot. And I'm thinking, oh, and I'm enjoying it, going, And there was one part in there I said to Mark, I went, oh, yeah. And Mark goes, did you want me to take that? I said, no, because it's real part of our history in it, but it made me go, oh, yeah. And that was the violence against an Aboriginal woman. I went, but that is true history.
The Bellarine region is quite interesting because they only had enough people to live off the land that was there. So they didn't overpopulate an area. They just lived so that the environment could sustain them, and it was a great environment out there. The blacks were coming. A bell would ring and would let people know that the blacks were coming and they were heading down to the coast, and this would be a signal for the unscrupulous ones to use that as a way of getting rid of some of the Aboriginal people. So they'd ring that bell, and then every other bell would ring from there on in all the way down to Queenscliff. The blacks are coming. Be prepared. They might be out there to kill you. These sorts of things. But it wasn't so. They were just on their seasonal track a lot of times. It was interesting history, you know, a lot of massacres in and around Geelong area. By 1868, there was none.
What happened to them all?
Well, a lot were, obviously because of dispossession of the land and the massacres and things like that. And of course the common cold and tuberculosis and those sort of diseases came along, and they just died off. So within 90 years of Captain Cook landing in Australia, there was no Wasserman people, all gone.